Welcome to another video interview from Junior Mining Insights. I'm joined today by Patrick Cheetham, Executive Chairman of Tertiary Minerals. Thanks again for joining me, Patrick. It's great to have you on.
Hey, good morning, Ryan.
So, Patrick, Tertiary has just published the final round of soil sampling. You've done soil sampling across all 5 Zambian projects now. These results come from the Mushima North project, which I believe is the largest of your projects in Zambia. Can you give us some more details on these results and what they mean for the company?
Sure. So, yeah, as you say, this is the largest of our projects. And the background to our work there is really set out in an announcement we made back at the beginning of June when we announced that we'd done a targeting report on the project, where we compiled lots and lots of historical information and employed a specialist consultant with a Zambian background to review the data and to come up with different targets. So we actually said, when we put that announcement out, we announced that there were actually kind of 3 priority targets that we wanted to cover with our soil sampling. And that was, we call C1, A1 and A2. So they're the ones that we've covered with our soil sampling in this last programme. And if I talk about those individually, the target C1 is a kind of a composite target. So it's a target both for what they call iron oxide copper gold mineralization, but also for conventional copper belt style copper mineralization. And in fact, the reason it's a target for IOCG is it's a combination of the right sort of geology with certain geophysical targets. And those geophysical targets were defined by BHP Billiton in an exploration program that they ran in the sort of kind of the period 2010 to 2012. So BHP had actually planned to drill these targets, but they left Zambia in 2012 when it was a less favourable mining regime. So we've come back to this. And so we've soil sampled C1, which also has the conventional copper belt style target, which was defined by an old drill hole. There's a drill hole there called RKN 800, which intersected low-grade copper mineralization from about 100 meters down to about 155 meters down at the base of the hole and ended in mineralization. So we've covered that target, and we've covered targets A1 and A2, which are more conventional copper belt style targets. So, we're delighted actually in that all 3 targets have come up with significant soil anomalies. So what we're looking for with soil anomalies are, representations of the mineralization, of any mineralization within the soil profile. So this is something that would be formed perhaps by near surface mineralization. So the target we have at C1 for copper belt style mineralization, we've got an anomaly which is nearly 4 kilometers long. And at target A1, we've got a 3 kilometer long target. The work at A2 actually gave us some interesting results, very high copper values, but in transported materials. So it's a few Ks away from target A1, but we think that this may be what they call a hydromorphic dispersion of copper from that area. So that kind of enhances the prospectivity of A1. So it's quite exciting. So keen to move on to the next stage.
And it's not just at Mushima North you've had results recently. It's been across all 5 of those Zambian projects. Do you now have a feel for which one of those projects or which one of those targets within those projects might be the highest ranked for you ahead of your drill program? Or is that something that very much still needs to be assessed? And can you give us a bit of an idea on how your ranking process will play out and what it will look like?
Yeah, it's quite a tough question, that really, because the results from Mushima North have only just come in. But I suppose the sort of things that we're looking at are the size of the anomaly, the tenor of the anomaly, exactly how high is the copper, and what is the geological setting, what's the access like, is there, are any permitting issues surrounding the access to the area, forest permits that are required to get into there. So there's quite a few things that feed in, but what we do also need to do yet is to do a detailed evaluation of the results. So, when we do the analysis in the field, we're using a portable X-ray machine. Now that gives us, usually very good results for copper, and it gives us various other elements as well, which feed into the decision. So, for example, you get iron results and different, things that may go along with copper, like arsenic. So things like, if you get support from other elements of being anomalous, which are anomalous in copper belt deposits, and that will tend to raise the priority of an anomaly. So we're still doing that, but this involves actually doing quite a bit of additional geochemical analysis in the laboratory. So we've got various samples. Some have been done already. Some are going off to the lab. And one of the interesting things that we do look at is the copper scandium ratios.
Okay.
Because scandium is an element that is relatively immobile. And when you look at the copper scandium ratios, if you get high copper scandium ratios, it tends to suggest that the copper has got in through hydrothermal solutions, so which is what you're looking for to make a copper deposit. So these are all important factors. And I suppose the other thing that may feed into this is, joint venture interest in projects. So, we have someone else who's prepared to spend money on the project, then we can focus on the others. So it gives us more bang for the buck.
And mentioning joint ventures, there obviously everyone's keen for an update on Konkola West and where that potential final agreement is. Do you have an idea how long that might be? And you also mentioned in your latest announcement that you've had some more unsolicited joint venture interest from major companies. Can you give us any details on that as well?
So, looking at Konkola West first, then, as you say, we announced the signing of a term sheet for a joint venture, earning a joint venture agreement. So the next stage from that is to negotiate and sign the full joint venture agreement. It's quite a detailed document. So that's now been drafted, been provided to us. We're going through that now. We have to obviously have our lawyer look at it, and so it's a process that will take quite a few weeks. So I don't want to put a set date on it, but everyone's moving as fast as they can on it and in the right direction. There's always a lot of horse trading on individual clauses in a joint venture agreement. Well, I don't like this. They say, well, I don't like that. Well, I'll give this in if you'll give that in. So it's kind of it's a process, but it is, as I say, it's moving in the right direction.
Good. And the potential joint venture interests on some of the other projects, can you give us any details on that, or is that confidential at this stage?
It's pretty confidential at this stage, and nothing's ever done until it's done, and some of them are quite early stage discussions. So I think it's more a case of watch this space.
Yep. And Zambia's seen a huge amount of interest from major companies and development banks and things like that recently. Can you give us a bit more detail about what's going on in Zambia at the moment?
Sure. So, as you say, just recently, or I say, in the recent past, there's been announcements of something like nearly $10 billion of investment into Zambia. And this has been, I guess, been promoted or prompted by the Hichilema's government's mining-friendly policies. After about 2012, when the last government came in, there was a lot of changes to the tax regime, to the royalty regime, that made it pretty unfavourable for people to explore. And that's one of the reasons that, BHP left Zambia back in 2012. But with the new government now in place, they've got ambitious plans for copper production to take it from somewhere just below 1 million tonnes a year of copper up to 3 million tonnes a year of copper. And they've already started changing the royalty and tax regime to be more favourable. And that means that a lot of the larger companies are now coming back. So companies like Anglo and Rio, they're all there exploring in Zambia now. And we're seeing, things like various impasses that have built up during the previous government, like the Konkola West mine, Konkola mine, not Konkola West, the Konkola mine. Now seeing, yes, that's right. So we're seeing they're committing to about $1 billion of investment. to revamp the Concola mine. It's a lot going on.
And of course, First Quantum Minerals, which your company has a relationship as well, is investing heavily in a couple of their projects.
They are. They've just recently invested in opening the Enterprise nickel mine. I think they've announced a significant expansion of the Kansanshi mine. And the same for Barrick as well at their Lumwana operation. They're investing to increase production substantially.
Okay, well, I'm sure all our audience looks forward to hearing more as and when the time is right. So please come back and give us a further update in due course, Patrick.
All right, thanks very much, Ryan. Appreciate it.